Welcome back to the Sound HR podcast, where we get under the skin of the latest HR challenges and frustrations facing businesses and the HR consultants supporting them. I'm Tania Harland, founder of HR Diagnostics, and today I'm so overjoyed to be joined by Alex Duggan, owner of Rehsq Limited, a health and safety consultancy. Alex is a great partner of HR Diagnostics and brings the health and safety expertise to the tool. Today's big question we're debating is, has health and safety quietly become an HR problem? With stress, culture, conflict now sitting firmly in the space where health and safety and HR overlap, we're looking at how that boundary's blurred, what it means for employers, and how HR consultants can spot and raise health and safety risks without it drifting into scope creep. Alex, it's an absolute pleasure to welcome you to the show today.
Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to this.
So, Alex, before we get into the meat of this, can you just give people a bit of a flavour of the kind of businesses you're walking into day to day? Because I think that context matters for everything we're about to discuss.
Yes, certainly. Well, Rehsq works with an eclectic range of small businesses. At the present, we're working with some manufacturing and industrial clients, car garages, body shops, commercial clients, charities, and a couple of clients actually in the hospitality industry as well.
Wow, that's really varied, isn't it? That must give you a lot of variety in your job.
It certainly does.
Okay, so the idea of the gap between what's supposed to happen and what actually happens, that's such an HR problem too, isn't it? So, which brings me to the thing I really want to dig into with you. What's the biggest health and safety risk that most businesses genuinely don't know they're carrying?
It's complacency. A lot of businesses think they're covered because they've got policies and risk assessments, but risks change constantly. The biggest danger is not spotting the gap between what's supposed to happen and what actually happens every day.
Yeah. For years, businesses thought health and safety meant slips, trips, fire exits. I mean, that's my view of it as well. But while HR have dealt with the people problems, and I just think that line seems to be disappearing. Are we reaching a point where culture, workload, bullying, poor management are becoming health and safety issues as much as HR ones?
Yes, very much so. The interesting story here actually is that stress is now being treated the same as physical hazards. Work-related stress has been part of employers' health and safety duties for years. What's changed is that regulators are paying increasing attention to psychosocial risk. Employers are facing greater scrutiny about well-being, and HR issues increasingly have health and safety consequences.
Yeah, it's not that stress suddenly becomes a health and safety issue. It's that the scrutiny's gone up. I think that word scrutiny is an important one. Correct. How are employers expected to assess work-related stress as part of their health and safety responsibilities?
Well, employees have a legal duty to protect employees' health, safety and welfare, which includes managing work-related stress as a health and safety risk. Stress should be assessed in the same way as any other workplace hazard. Through a stress risk assessment, identifying the potential causes such as excessive workload, lack of control, poor management, role ambiguity, or workplace conflict. Then we evaluate who may be affected, implementing suitable and sufficient control measures, and reviewing their effectiveness.
Okay, and where does the harassment angle fit in? So technically an Equality Act issue rather than a health and safety one, but can it still show up as a stressor within a stress risk assessment in terms of like harassment? Yeah.
Absolutely, Tania. Workplace conflict and harassment can absolutely surface as a contributing stressor within a stress risk assessment, even though the duty itself does sit under the Equality Act rather than health and safety regulation.
Yeah, that's a prime example of how health and safety and HR overlap, because the Equality Act and that responsibility that employers have sits very firmly with HR. But I can see, like with the stress risk assessment, actually bullying and harassment can cause stress in the workplace. And actually, like you've said, stress is very much now treated the same as a physical hazard. So, yeah. So are HR and health and safety actually talking to each other outside businesses, or are the two separate compliance functions tackling the same underlying problem from opposite ends? So in your view, like having obviously seen you're on the shop floor when you're going into businesses and that, are they actually talking to each other?
Well, health and safety is responsible for ensuring compliance with health and safety legislation, carrying out risk assessments, identifying the workplace hazards, and monitoring organisational risks. HR manages people-related issues such as employee well-being, absence
Mm.
management, occupational health referrals, performance, employee relationships, and well-being initiatives. Work-related stress kind of sits at the intersection between the two
Yeah.
of both functions because it's both workplace hazard and a people management issue.
Okay, yeah. Many workplace HR and health and safety still do operate in separate functions, I think, with
They
limited
do.
collaboration. I've seen that happen. And that can lead to fragmented approaches. You know, HR focuses on, like you say, supporting the individuals, health and safety focuses on compliance, and organisations, if they can integrate the HR and health and safety approach, they're generally better placed to identify systemic causes of stress, implement preventative measures, and basically create a healthier, more productive workplace, which is what we
Very,
all want at the end of the
very
day.
much so.
Okay, so I want to talk about war stories. So this is all making a lot of sense in theory, but I know you're seeing this play out in real businesses right now. So tell me what's actually landing on your desk at the moment. So you mentioned health and safety very active right now, but can you put a real number on in terms of, you know, what the kind of real nitty-gritty risks are out there?
Absolutely. I've recently dealt with a number of businesses that have had visits from the Health and Safety Executive. The HSC are very active at present. The current fee for intervention stands at £188 per hour, and
Mm.
it's gone up again in April. It's a scheme which the HSC charges employers for the cost of investigating material breaches of health and safety law. So
Wow.
in
Wow.
simple terms, if the HSE inspects a workplace and finds a serious legal breach, they will issue what's called a notice of contravention. The business is then billed for the HSE's time. That's the inspector's visits, the
Mm.
admin, the investigation work, or whatever might be required. These costs then can soon mount up depending on the seriousness of the breach and how long it takes to rectify. Just giving you an example of that, I recently
Yeah.
carried out work for a manufacturing client that
Yeah.
had an HSE inspection, during which they had been served with several improvement notices. Rescue have been supporting them in addressing the issues identified, while also helping to strengthen their overall health and safety arrangements across the site.
Mm.
However, the cost of the fees for intervention, combined with
Mm.
the necessary remedial works as a result of the improvement notices, has
Mm.
actually amounted to a five-figure sum.
Wow.
And this highlights the importance of taking a proactive approach to health and safety and
Mm.
investing in prevention before these issues arise.
Wow, that's costly. I've never heard of fees for intervention before. So that's a really interesting fact for me as an HR professional that actually the HSE have like a standard hourly rate that they will charge if they have to intervene because of serious breaches to health and safety. So those costs could quite easily add up.
They can. It should be noted though that the fee for intervention only applies when there's a clear breach. It
Mm.
doesn't apply to just routine inspections by the HSE.
Sure.
What it's there for is to make non-compliant employers pay for enforcement costs rather than the taxpayer.
Oh, well, thanks for that. That's really useful kind of insight. So, right, let's lighten things up for a second because for every real expensive risk we've just talked about, and obviously we've said about a five-figure number, there's about 10 daft health and safety myths doing the rounds that drive HR consultants up the wall and health and safety consultants up the wall. So just a quick fire round. So you ready for this? It's going to be a true,
Yep,
false, like I'm going to make a statement and you're going to answer
absolutely.
if it's true or false. Conkers are banned in playgrounds because of health and safety.
That's definitely false.
And you can't serve pork crackling in a restaurant because of health and safety.
Again, false.
Small businesses are exempt from most health and safety duties.
False.
We've never had an accident, so we must be doing something right.
Oh, I hear this so often. That's definitely false.
Oh, excellent. Thanks for that. Okay, so myths busted. Let's get serious again for a second because I think this is the bit our listeners really need. So, a lot of HR consultants listening will be sat with clients right now, quietly clocking health and safety gaps. And if they're using the HR diagnostic tool, that will absolutely be flagged, and they're not knowing what to do about it. So how can an HR consultant raise health and safety concerns with a client without it feeling like it's going into scope creep? And what's a quick win that they could flag that genuinely helps?
Well, they can position health and safety as something that supports HR outcomes rather than a separate consulting process. Let's give an example on that. As we've been reviewing your people processes, I've noticed one small health and safety point that's closely linked to employee well-being and legal responsibilities. It's outside the main scope of our HR work, so I'm not suggesting a full health and safety review, but I want to flag it to save you issues down the line. Let's give a couple examples on that. It could be something like ensuring that their health and safety policy is relevant and up to date, making sure that emergency contact details are current, confirming things like first aiders and fire marshals are still in place and being communicated,
Mm.
and checking that new starters receive a basic health and safety induction alongside their HR onboarding.
Yeah, really good kind of examples of how HR consultants, whilst they might not be the expert in health and safety, they can certainly support with some of these things to actions to take to implement to ensure that the client is more compliant. We've ended up working together, which is wonderful. I
Yes, we
kept
have.
seeing this exact problem in HR Diagnostics audit. So, we've got a workplace safety module that's dedicated to the obligations employers have to their employees when it comes to health and safety. And, I'm not the person to be giving health and safety advice here. But what was missing from, like, if we just do a generic HR audit is, health and safety does need a specialist, even though there are some general kind of policies and policy updates or checking new starters receive a basic health and safety induction, those type of things, we can support with that. But actually, what the platform has flagged is health and safety risks today and what actually happens, for the consultants. So my question to you really is, what was missing in terms of when you saw the HR audit the first time, what elements within the workplace kind of safety thing did you notice were missing?
Well, the HR diagnostics tool does enable HR consultants to identify when something doesn't look right, but they don't provide the health and safety expertise needed to assess the level of risk or advise their clients on the appropriate course of action. So, when the platform does identify potential health and safety risks, it does more than simply flag the issue. It provides the consultant with context of why the risk has been identified and then recommends the most appropriate next steps. Depending on the circumstances, this may involve gathering additional information, recommending corrective actions, or referring the client to a health and safety specialist where that expert advice is required.
Yeah.
The goal is to give the HR consultant the confidence to identify potential issues at an early stage while ensuring the clients receive specialist health and safety support wherever that may be required.
Yeah, and you very kindly looked at the gaps within the audit, and using your health and safety expertise, you were able to identify where there were gaps, and you've written the questions and you've provided like the action plan outputs, and so it's been great collaborating with you because you've got the expertise and you're kind of feeding into the tool to support HR consultants when
Very much
health
so.
and safety might not be like I say, scope creep could happen with health and safety. It does, when you are supporting clients. But I think the tool has your health and safety expertise drilled into it, and obviously you're there as well if there is any requirements for consultancy support from a health and safety perspective. So, if you had 15 seconds with a business owner who thinks health and safety doesn't apply to us, we're too small, what would you say?
Oh, 15 seconds. Okay. Well, you're not too small for an accident. You're not too small to be sued. You're not too small to lose a great employee. Health and safety management is how you stop these things happening.
Yeah, definitely. So we could talk about this for hours, but before I let you go, if you could get every business owner to do one thing differently this year on health and safety, what would it be?
Get out and talk to your people. Don't just look at the paperwork or the numbers. Ask the people who do the job every day. What's getting in your way? What are the hazards and risks that you're coming across? What can we do better? The
Mm,
reality here is that your workforce often sees the hazards before anyone else does.
yeah.
Creating a culture where people feel comfortable speaking up can prevent problems before they happen.
Mm.
Health and safety isn't about ticking boxes. It's about making sure people go home every day safely.
Mm.
And when you put people at the heart of safety, the business will benefit as well.
Yeah, I like that. But at the end of the day, it comes back to the people, doesn't it? It's like ask
It does.
people, because they are the ones that are going to have the insights, because they're there and day to day and see things that perhaps the business owner doesn't see. So amazing.
Definitely.
Thank you. So if any HR consultants are listening and they're not partnered with a health and safety consultant, but they do find that sometimes there's a need for support and they want to get in touch with you, where can people find you?
Well, you can find us on our website, www.rehsq.co.uk. Now, rescue is actually spelt REHSQ.co.uk. We've also got a LinkedIn page, and you can email me directly through those, and I'll pick it up and we can have a chat.
Yes. So, and it's Alex Duggan, who's also on LinkedIn as well as Rehsq. There's a business
That's
page.
correct.
Yes. And obviously, if anybody would like to get in contact with you and are unable to find you on LinkedIn, they can also contact me through the Sound HR podcast. Alex, what a brilliant conversation. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure. Absolute pleasure.
If you've enjoyed this, subscribe, leave a review, share it with someone who'd get value from it. I'm Tania. This has been the Sound HR podcast. Until next time, stay sound.